We can wait a few minutes. Let
Yeah,
people get themselves sorted out and
it's a good idea.
you know.
Yes, we're allowed to do that.
Trevor, would you like me to turn off my mic and video until you're like until such a time, or do you just want to keep it going?
It's your call. If you want to leave it on, you can. Or if you want to just be more anonymous, that's entirely cool too. I'll call on you when we're good to go. Okay, so we're going to kickstart, and good morning and welcome to the sixth and final installment of the Guidance Forum. It's kind of hard to believe and amazing to think that we're so close to December and, dare I say, 2021. Time flies, as they say, when you're having fun. And for today's fun, we are fortunate to be joined by our sponsor from the Faculty of Science and our guest from Housing and Residence Life Services and the Bachelor of Industrial Design. Before we go any further, let me begin by saying a big thank you to all the counselors and guests and sponsors who joined us this fall for the first program. I think it's truly been a remarkable channel to connect and inform. I think it was a great idea to do it, and we've had a lot of positive feedback. So thanks again for joining us. I'd also like to take the opportunity and add that Carleton University acknowledges the location of its campus on the traditional unceded territories of the Algonquin Nation. The agenda for today will see our sponsor from Science. We'll share some insights, and then we'll flip it over to our guest from Housing and Residence Life Services, followed by Industrial Design. And of course, bookending the presentation will be Jen Sugar, the Director of Admissions. As far as meeting protocol is concerned, please feel free to leave your camera off and be muted if you can. And for questions, you can use the hands up function, although I'll be honest with you, we really haven't seen much of that over the course of the forum. More people have been using the chat to fire in some questions or making a plan to circle up later if to talk offline if there's something more complex to get into. But we'll triage that, and the speakers don't have to worry about tracking that. I also wanted to mention, as I mentioned earlier, that we are indeed recording the session. So now, without further ado, I'll go into our introduction of our speakers and sponsors. Today, we're pleased to be joined by our sponsor for the forum, which is Dr. Sue Bertram, who is Associate Dean of the Faculty of Science and is waving. Thank you. And she is as well a professor and undergraduate chair of the Department of Biology. So welcome. We are also pleased to be welcomed by Wanda Boschert, who is the coordinator of the Residence Accommodations and Recruitment. And now that we have lots of applications and sooner than later we'll be getting offers in students' hands, the residence timelines questions will be popping up for the counselors, and I'm sure they'll appreciate your insights on that, Wanda. And as well, we'll be I want to introduce Stephen Fields, who is the undergraduate program coordinator in the Bachelor of Industrial Design program. We're pleased, as always, to be joined once again by the Jen Sugar, our Director of Admissions, and welcome everyone, welcome all to the program. All right, so let's kick things off with our sponsor for today. Easy for me to say, Dr. Sue Bertram. Sue, the floor, as they say, is yours.
Thanks so much, Trevor. It's fun to be here and to give you all just a glimpse of the kinds of cool things that have been going on in science here at Carleton. And I want to make this a bit informal. If you have questions, feel free to throw them into the chat because I'd be very happy to take them. But in the meantime, given that none have come up just yet, I just wanted to give you a very brief overview of some of the kinds of things that what makes us special and sort of sets us apart from several of the other universities in terms of science. First of all, our science professors really focus on students in terms of student support, student success in teaching, but also getting them hands-on experience in research. Many of our facilities are truly state-of-the-art, and I'm not going to show you them here right now, but in some of the science tours that are online and available, that kind of thing is great. But about 12 years ago, I, along with the Dean of Science and the Associate Dean at the time, started really chatting with each other about what are some ways that we could truly throw science onto the board of making it one of the best places in Ontario and possibly in Canada for undergraduate students to come and do science. And we basically wandered around North America looking for what kinds of practices are out there to try and really engage students. And with the help of many key players, we developed the Science Student Success Center, otherwise known as the SSSC. And we put that in place now 12 years ago to help all undergrads in the Faculty of Science not only achieve their academic goals, but also help define them. Because as I'm sure you're very well aware, when students are walking into the high school stage level and trying to figure out what to do and with the area they want to study, there's a lot of confusion and concern that, well, what if I don't pick the right program, and what if it's not ideal for me, and what if I hate it? And the Science Student Success Center, we've set that up so that people can really go in and question those sorts of things to really help them figure out what they want to do. And we recognize, of course, that that can change over time as well as they get to experience different options and things. So we basically have in the Science Student Success Center, we help them define and achieve their goals, but also help them figure out a little bit more about what kinds of careers they might want and what kinds of things are available to them and how do they make these sorts of career transitions happen into different things. The other aspect of the Science Student Success Center is a social one, and in terms of trying to get our students to get to know each other, get involved in clubs and societies, and really get involved in the university setting as a whole, because as we all know, the more students are engaged, the more likely they are to stay in science, succeed in science, and continue on from there. So I noticed that Carly has thrown up a link to the Science Student Success Center, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Carly. So so there's, I guess, 6 different pillars that in the Science Student Success Center. There's a mentoring side where we use peer mentors to provide one-on-one guidance, usually with upper year students. We provide lots and lots of academic support. So for example, last week and this week and next, there's all sorts of workshops being run, all virtually this year, of course, on how to succeed and how to study for your exams, how to take multiple choice tests if things are multiple choice. But in general, how do you approach and pull together all the information so that our science students can actually succeed in the types of exams? We also have refresher series that are usually run in August, things like Math Matters, Chem Matters, Comp or Computer Science Matters. So to give people sort of the kickstart that they need in terms of getting their head around what this university will be like. There's a career component where we run a bunch of networking events. And so we had a networking forum this year that was run in October, where we had people who had science degrees from and that are working from actually in different fields around Canada come in and talk to our students about the kinds of jobs they've had, and what kind of experiences and things that they had a chance to get during university, but also beyond, in order to get into those sorts of careers. We also, in those career things, we run lab tours so students can get an idea of these are the kinds of different research that's going on in the lab and in the field at Carleton, and get a little bit of a head start on how do you go about getting involved in it. And this is especially important, I think, for students who are coming from backgrounds where their family members may never have been to university before. And often these sorts of questions about how they get involved and how they do things are a little bit, students who are first generation university bound can be a little disadvantaged there. So we try and work closely with people on that. Now, for a community side, there's all sorts of social activities and service to the communities that we regularly run. We also have a healthcare component that's from that we run a bunch of different things about, because so many of our students decide that they want to go to med school or they want to be involved in healthcare at a professional level. And one of those things that we run is a med night. And so our med night was held 2 nights ago. And what we do every year is we bring first-year medical students who were students at Carleton back to Carleton. And in this case, we had 4 different Carleton graduates that were from, who are now in medical schools across Canada. They came back and talked to our students about what are the kinds of things that they need to do in order to get into medical school, and how did they do it, and how are they enjoying it. And then so many of our students these days are in computer science, so we also have a computer science pillar, and they run coding challenges. They do technical interview practices for Google, and then they also run mixers and that kind of thing. So I just wanted to bring up all of that just because it's one of the things that Carleton does quite differently. And it's one of the ways in which students can really get involved. And so if you have, if some of your high school students have applied to Carleton into science and are wondering what's next and how are we going to, like, you know, what do they do? And if they want to get involved in things, I strongly express to them to reach out to the sssc.carleton.ca. And when they go there, there's a live chat component that between basically 8:30 and 4:30 every on weekdays, students or potential students can have their questions answered. And the only other thing that I thought it would be great to mention is so many of our students go on to get hands-on experiential learning through co-ops. Our first-year students can apply for Dean's Summer Research Internships. So in our dean's office, well, actually, I'm in charge of that one, and usually we select 30 to 40 different first-year students that at the end of their first year can come and work in the labs with us, and they'll get paid internships so that they can get a chance to get hands-on experience. After that, there's through the National Science and Engineering Research Council of Canada, there's Undergraduate Student Research Award possibilities where they can continue to get experience. But even if students don't have phenomenal grades and they still want to get hands-on experience, they can do that through research credits, internships with companies, as well as taking some great field courses. And then I know I only have 1 minute left, but I wanted to plug a new program that just started in 2019, and this is the Interdisciplinary Science and Practice Program. And so what a team of scientists at Carleton did was they went out and they started talking to policymakers, government officials, people in industry from around Canada, and said, what are we know you go out and you hire a bunch of graduates in science. What are those students missing when they come into your programs? And what they found is that while the students who were having recent graduates had great background in terms of science knowledge, they didn't have as much background in terms of basically how are policies made, and so how do you apply your scientific knowledge and skills at a global or even local level to make more connections so that things can move forward. And so that's exactly what this program does. It blends technical knowledge in the sciences with professional skills. They get lots of hands-on experiences. There's lots of core courses that are engaging in analytical thinking, collaboration, sharing, and debating. But there's a huge amount of group work in it, and it's unique because there's very few undergraduate science programs in Canada that enable students to work and learn across traditional disciplinary boundaries. So I think that if you have students who are really good in science, but they're also interested in politics or big questions in the world, if they have strong communication skills, if they're interested in collaborating, critical thinking, problem solving, and teamwork, I would be really pushing that interdisciplinary science and practice program with them. And I know I was supposed to stop at 9:15, so Trevor, I think I should stop now, and we can go from there.
I certainly didn't have the stopwatch on you. I was enjoying your presentation, especially as a parent of somebody who's applied to the Bachelor of Health Sciences program. There are a few nuggets I was scribbling down for myself, and which is pretty cool. So, thank you so much, and for joining us. I know that you have to run off for some important meetings, but we will have the chat open for some questions. And if anything comes up when you're not around, we'll be sure to connect you with people as well.
That's great. And I'll just throw my email address in here as well. And so if there's, they can email me with questions.
Fantastic. Thank you once
Okay,
again.
thanks so much. Have a great day, everyone.
Okay, so we'll just take a minute to, I also wanted to, before I kick it over to Wanda from Housing Residence Life Services, I just wanted to take just a quick moment to acknowledge some of the other sponsors that have been joining us over the weeks. And sometimes our sponsors will, pop into other sessions, even though they're not the official sponsor. So just looking at the attendance list, I can see that Rhonda Kelly has joined us from the Sprott School of Business. Welcome, Rhonda. And certainly if there's any counselors that had questions with respect to the Sprott School of Business, Rhonda's in the chat, and I'm sure more than happy to answer your questions and connect either here or offline. Okay, so with that being said, I'm now going to welcome our next guest, Wanda from the Housing Residence Life Services. So welcome, Wanda.
Thank you very much for having me, Trevor. It's a pleasure to be here. And I want to take this opportunity to speak to the counselors about what we find is most important on our end in the housing office. So all first-year students coming directly from high school or CEGEP will get a guaranteed offer of residence with their offer to study at Carleton. Sometimes they don't actually notice this offer, and so they will come back to us and indicate that they didn't see that they had a guaranteed offer. And so I'm really stressing dates and deadlines with our little conversation today. So if they're accepted to Carleton prior to the 15th of May, they will get this guaranteed offer of residence with their offer to study at Carleton. The students need to accept their offer to Carleton and then accept their offer to residence online before 4:30 p.m. on June the 8th. We are always overbooked. And so, but we will honor any accepted offer that comes in by June the 8th. So it's very important that they recognize that June the 8th is a very important deadline. With the accepted offer, they will be required to pay a deposit by credit card in the amount of $700, or we also include Interac. Where we run into issues, our students thinking that they may be able to use OSAP to pay this deposit, or they may be able to pay it by check, or so on. The prime method of payment is by credit card or Interac prior to June the 8th. Now, we understand that not everyone is in a position to make this happen. And we certainly in the housing office want to work with our students to make this university experience the easiest for them. So in the event that a student cannot pay by credit card, either doesn't have a credit card or doesn't have the money, if they contact us well in advance of June the 8th, we will certainly work with them to see what other ways we can coordinate with them to get that deposit paid prior to June the 8th. So it's a lot easier to deal with these exceptions mid-May than it is on June the 8th at 4:15. So I think what I'd like to impress upon them is to sort of get your ducks in a row, understand that there's going to be some cost involved, that there are some very specific deadlines, and that we can work around all of this as long as we have some time that we can make this work, that they're in our reports. So the other thing is, and a student who requires special consideration, so be it for medical reasons, be it for academic reasons, they possibly use academic equipment or have a form of study that would be necessarily would bother maybe a roommate and so on, and would require a specific type of accommodation. These are all things that we will look at. We will make every effort to accommodate. We have a residence survey called the Residence Information Form that the student completes at the time or shortly thereafter when they accept their offer. And on there, if they give us as much information as they can possibly give us for room assignment, then we will do everything we can to accommodate them. Some supporting documentation may be required. However, we definitely want this room assignment to add to their success at Carleton. We want this to be what makes their experience the best. So we also don't necessarily just automatically assign because they asked, but we review every situation. We're seeing more and more special considerations every year. So it's definitely reviewed. But again, if they present us with this information prior to June the 8th, so that whether they're staying in residence or not and accepting their offer or not depends on their assignment, the sooner they give us their information, the better we are equipped to review it and give them some sort of confirmation that they will get the special consideration. The other thing that I want to advise you of, which you probably already know, is that we have residence counselors dedicated to residents. So you may have students that you know may need a little bit more emotional support and so on. So not only do we have an excellent ResLife staff, we also have residence counselors dedicated, working right within the residence community so that students can meet with and create a relationship with, so that they feel more comfortable with the transition to university. So that's pretty much what I wanted to impress upon you today. If anybody has any specific questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them now. I don't want to get into all of the why you should come to residence, because that we really present to the students. But for you, you may have people coming to you with these issues, and so I wanted to get that information out to you as guidance counselors.
Awesome. Thank you, Wanda. I know as a parent who's gone through this last year, I was really happy that you talked about the deadline, because we had this conversation in my home and we're sort of like insiders and know things. But I remember having this conversation with my daughter, and it's the due date deadline debacle. It's like, oh, well, it's June 8th. It's not due till the June 8th. No. That's the deadline. It's you can do this like now.
Well, and also there is a gap between when they accept their offer to Carleton and when they're able to go online to Carleton Central to accept their residence offer, because they accept typically through UAC, and then UAC sends the information to Carleton. So there can be a delay up to 48 hours. So if you're waiting till June the 7th to accept your offer to Carleton, the residence offer may not be available to you prior to 4:30 on June the 8th. So we really like them to know that there's a gap there. And if they know they're coming to Carleton, accept that offer and give yourself lots of time so that you're not scrambling at the last minute, trying to contact admissions to manually push through your offer and so on.
Now room assignments are happening well into the summer and whatnot, but in terms of preferences, when can they start doing that part?
So when they accept their offer online on Carleton Central, within 48 hours, they receive this link to complete the residence information form. Now, if they accept prior to May the 1st, they won't receive that link because we feel that that's too soon for them. There's a big difference, a student February 1st and a student May the 18th. So as far as their living habits and so on, whether or not they have a roommate that, you know, maybe February 1st, they didn't know who else was coming to Carleton, but maybe by May the 15th, they know that so-and-so's coming in, so-and-so's coming in, they could ask for them as a roommate. So after May the 1st, it's 48 hours after you accept your offer to Carleton, and they indicate their preferences. They're just a preference. The guaranteed offer is for a traditional double room. They can begin accepting their offer online through Carleton Central on February 1st.
Excellent. Thank you once again, Wanda, and thanks for being available for questions in the chat if they pop up.
My pleasure, and we're available at accommodations@carleton.ca, and we're more than happy to answer any of those questions.
Thanks again. Okay, we're going to switch channels here, and we're going to welcome Mr. Stephen Fields to the program, as they say. And Stephen has been with us before once to talk about some of the intricacies of the industrial design portfolio and so forth. I think there's a few more things that he wanted to share. So Stephen, if I can, maybe you can put your camera on and we can welcome you. That would be great. Yeah, and by all means, if there's something in particular that you felt like you wanted to screen share, you can do that as well, or shoot some links into the chat as well. Okay. So let me get one quick second here. Stephen, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, welcome aboard. The floor is yours.
I'm going to do a little bit of a presentation again, just to go over a bunch of things. You may have seen this a little bit, but if you don't mind, I'm just going to do it really quickly. So I'm going to do a screen share here. Is that possible?
It is.
Is that working?
Should be the arrow at the top right.
Top right.
There's an arrow in a box, and you click on that and you can share your screen.
I am trying to do this and it's not working. I'm so sorry.
No luck?
No luck.
I think you and I had this issue before.
Yeah, it's interesting. I apologize to everybody.
Stephen, just a quick suggestion. If is it a web page that you're trying to share?
No, it's just a PowerPoint presentation.
Okay, because you could also you could email the PowerPoint presentation to one of our staff and we could screen share it for you.
Okay.
Yeah, we can try that for sure.
Trevor, to you or to Carly?
Shoot it to me. That's fine.
Okay. So sorry about this, everybody. So. There we go. So what I was going to do is basically I was just going to give an overall sort of presentation of a program a little bit, go into some different areas. You may not know the full program. And did that go through, Trevor?
Just waiting for your email. I'll let you know. If you want to just sort of speak to it, and then as it rolls in, I'll do my best.
I want to describe, like, industrial design is an interesting program because we're very user-centered. And so when we're trying to get students to present their portfolios, etc., we want them to demonstrate that the program is user-centered, that they look at people, that they're not just identifying with themselves, they're actually putting context into their work. And so we really try to sort of demonstrate that, and we want them to demonstrate that in the portfolios. I often use an example of a light switch. We look at a light switch and we all use it, and the students would, see from that that's just a ordinary simple product, but really what it is something that can be redesigned and evaluated and looked at, and would be quite a lot of analysis to that. And so we want students to show their process. We want them to be part of that sort of I develop things. So what makes our program really unique is because we're a strong foundation. We've been established since 1973. We're an alumni network all over the world. We're the only ID program in Canada with an engineering faculty, which is really quite interesting because we do have that sort of more both cognitive and qualitative side, but also the creative side. We're a practical immersive program, so we really, really try to get the students to be participating. So we want to see that they're working with people, because our program's immersive. We actually work with all sorts of different individuals, all sorts of different groups, partnerships, etc. Also, I want to make sure that people know that our program is transferable. So some industrial design programs are not as transferable into going into masters or other areas of business, et cetera, et cetera. We also want to really highlight that at Carleton, we're really a multidisciplinary sort of subjects. So our students do have the ability to get minors in business and psychology, et cetera, and some fine arts, et cetera. So they're able to go outside the actual practical sort of industrial design and take some really interesting courses. It leads to a Bachelor of Industrial Design, which is, we feel is very strong. And in Canada, this is a really great thing because it's, in Ontario, it allows you to be very much on, a charter actually as you finish the program. So we're not a professional in the sense of professional, but you can become chartered as industrial design, and you can get that out of our bachelor program. I have to say right now that when you're talking to your students and talking to get them in, it's a rigorous university program. This program takes a lot of time, effort, and work, and we want to really tell the students that they're not going to go in there and feel that they're going to be in an art class or a studio. They're going to be taking a variety of different courses, and they're going to be pushed really hard. So, we want to look at them and want to see in their portfolio, do they like to make things? So the portfolio has to identify that. Do they like to problem solve? Are they people that want to do problem solving? Are they see that the visual process and stuff could do problem solving? Are they curious? Of course. We want to see in the portfolio they're curious and they're investigating and doing new things. One thing I always say to our students, once you come in our program, you're going to hate everything, because you're going to learn this ability to see how products, systems, services, experiences can be improved. And that's what you're going to look at. Oh, that doesn't look great. This looks bad. I want to fix it. So we want to see that they're looking and they're seeing, and that portfolio shows that. We explain a lot of the information to the students through infographics. So the portfolio is something that really should demonstrate a really, really strong sort of graphical representation. It should be an exercise itself in the graphical representation. And if the slides were up, you could see that I'm doing sort of a slide of an infographic and how much information can be described there. So the visual thinking is really key. They have to demonstrate they want to be able to draw. So we want to see freehand drawing. We want to see that their portfolio actually has a lot of these drawing techniques. We want to know that they're really interested in learning how to draw products, not things that they see, but things that come from their mind. So the process work in the portfolio through visualization is really important. And so we want them to demonstrate that it's just not a final product. It's actually took some thinking and some ideas to actually move forward to that. So, you know, we have a lot of really, these are just wild drawings that he caught up. We also want to see that they can make things, and they're going to do a lot of making things in our program, and they're going to build things, and they're going to do things like that, and they're going to use foams and different materials to build stuff, and they're going to learn how this process of human interaction. So early on, we want that to be seen also, because we are the builders, we are the makers using a strong visual process. So that has to be demonstrated. We have great shops. And we have facilities. So the students have to be willing to go into that environment. And so if they show us that they can use tools, if they show us that they're ready to do the systems building these things, that really makes us feel comfortable that we can train them in our shops and our facilities, etc., which is really key. Of course, if they show us experience in 3D printing and building and all these areas, that's just another asset that we put into our weighing scale for the portfolio. So what makes our program, I've done this already. So because we're studio-based, we want to see that they can work and do studio-based things, and they want to do that stuff. And because we use facilities, we want them to be aware that they're going to have to feel comfortable working with their hands in uncomfortable situations sometimes of having to build things, but utilizing technology. So if you have students that are interested in technologies like robotics, like things like that, we want to see that, because that actually is as design has changed, it moves into that area. Of course, when you're talking to them, if you can show collaborative work and that they work with other students, we're really like that. We like seeing that they actually can be part of a team, because a lot of our products will be, and work will be in a multidisciplinary. So if they were on a group and are in their sort of, part of a theater group, or doing a logo for the school, or doing anything like that, that we know that they're part of a team, that's really important to us, because our whole program is based on peer learning and interaction with other people. So if they can demonstrate that through their portfolio, that's great. We have so many labs that are just so huge that they are going to be working on. So I don't know, Trevor, are you keeping up with me?
Yeah, 100%. We're just still trying to get your PowerPoint's huge, so we're trying to get it opened.
Okay.
And we'll once we do, we'll give you a couple seconds to point to a few things if you want to on it.
Okay, sure. So the other thing, whoops, I'm going to move on. So admission requirements, of course, we need those advanced functions in physics and the grade 12 minimum of, the sixth grade. And we also, we have a lower requirements around 75, I think, is what we're looking for in the students and their overall average. We do recommend that they take calculus and vectors, but we don't say they have to. We want to know that they take design technologies. It's recommended. Visual arts are recommended, but of course the portfolio is one of the key things. So, we want this portfolio will be submitted to us for evaluation. So we get about 300 plus applicants. We are getting, approximately, we get 200 and 225 portfolios. I think that was one of the highest things. We get about 150 people at our information sessions, what I'll describe, which I think is really key for the young people to come in. And we only accept between 48 and 50 students. 48 is our really cutoff number. But that is, it's a tough program. It is in the sense of getting in, we have that cutoff. So we only take so many numbers. We only want about 200 or so students in our entire unit, because we want them to be able to get that studio-based learning of 25 students in a studio. We want them to be able to have access to our facilities and our shops, etc. So that's really key. So your portfolio, and I want to make this, is your best work. Okay, we sometimes get students try to give us quantity. That doesn't really impress us. We want to see the best work. We want to see 10 to 15 pet pieces of that. And we want to see the process to that work. We want a combination of both 2D and 3D work. And this is interesting. We love to see graphics. We like to see logos. We like to see paintings. We like to see all those things. But then because we live in this world of three-dimensionality, the students have to demonstrate 3D work, and they want to show their interest in products. We want to see their analytical capability. We want to see their creativity and skills that they have. So those skills are demonstrated, and they're demonstrated through photographs, drawings, whatever. So we're really, really trying to see a very well-rounded student. So the creative work may include freehand or computer-generated drawings. It could show technical drawings, both computer and non-computer. So technical drawings and technical communication is key. So if they've taken, drafting, or they've taken CAD work at the school, that's great. Paintings, of course. We love artwork, but we also like to see how they came up with that artwork. Graphics, like I said, and photographs are key. Photographs are important in the sense that we want descriptions of why they took that photograph. We want them to show that they're making a photograph, not taking a photograph, which is really cool. Images of the three-dimensional work, they should take the time to photograph that. Little models they've made prototypes with all sorts of different materials, sculptures, both very, very mixed media sculptures, etc., models, renovations, if they've done work and show that they can do things and they've worked with their people, or they've had a job where they've done renovations. Furniture, we see the students actually show us furniture, simple furniture they've manufactured and made, maybe in school or maybe outside of school. And fashion items. We love fashion items because we're moving more and more to soft work, soft sculpture, like industrial design shoes. They design Adidas, they design all those things. So those fashion items are really, really key. And so even jewelry, etc. And it gives us so much of an idea that they have a sense of color, form, all sorts of areas.
So Stephen, Carly is able to get the presentation up here. So she's been actually scrolling through some of the artwork that you've been speaking to. So
yeah,
which I think is helpful.
Carly, can you do me a favor? Can you go to slide 16?
Yes, one moment.
I'm so sorry about this to everybody. This is a fun thing. I'm going to give you a little bit of sal, but if Carly could play this is our facilities. This is what the students, and it gives you an idea of what will be involved. Okay. That's great. Thank you, Carly. I'll go to, maybe you could go down slides a little bit. So that, why I did that, why I presented that was because I think by showing what our facilities are, it gives you a better understanding of maybe how we are very hands-on and we want kids to do that. I'm going to ask you to move down a couple of more slides, please. Oh, something's happened here. Sorry about this. It must be just the conversion. So yeah, so I said the technical work, things like that, fashion items. The next slide, please. We also have ID portfolio sessions. They're really, really incredible. So in those portfolio sessions on December 4th, January 15th, and February 5th is where I do a full presentation of our program. We really introduce the students, but also what we do is the students bring in their portfolio, and these are in our faculty. So they'll be showing the portfolio through Zoom to other students who have graduated from or who have been accepted at our program, and the candidates then get to talk and see what those portfolios or what could be in the portfolio. We have great stuff on online. Really great opportunity for young people to have this interaction. We're seeing a huge amount of students registering this year because it's easy to do this online. So you please look at these examples on sites. Push the students to the candidates to actually take a look at this. There's examples. There's formats, there's all sorts of areas, and I could talk about that for a long time, but this gives them a chance. And they'll see the variance of the portfolios that we accept. So some students can really draw, other students can really build. We want, but both can be excellent industrial designers. Next slide. So we submit our portfolios on SlideRoom. SlideRoom is a way that we actually can categorize and look at the portfolios. And we start and we open up SlideRoom on January the 15th. Because this is a fairly big thing, we ask for a $10 amount to actually submit on SlideRoom. It's been interesting. As soon as we've done that, we get really good work. We will give early acceptance. If the portfolio is phenomenal and the marks are in and we can see that they have the requirements, we'll give early acceptance. But we also want to see that we give the deadlines March 31st, I think it is. That is the last time they can submit because we want to get our we want to make sure that our program gets filled, and we want to send out invitations to the students as soon as we can. Next one. That's really about it. I'm sorry again for the problems with the presentation. There's some good slides there. You can anticipate how great the presentation would be if the students come to our portfolio sessions. Ha ha. So there we go.
I was really glad that you got a chance to show the video though, Stephen, because we didn't get a chance to do that before. Yeah. So if there was anything to be taken away, I think that was a great takeaway. And certainly to be able to promote the portfolio sessions because they're absolutely huge. So thank you very much for doing that.
Okay.
It's awesome. Thanks again for joining us. And we're going to switch channels and we'll go over to Jen Sugar to close out the forum.
Thanks, Trevor. I think what I'm going to do is just keep my remarks brief because we're kind of closing in on 10 o'clock here, and just talk a little bit about sort of the admissions process. One of the things that I've said in the past is I've talked about how basically what we're going to be doing this year is because we're going to be getting grade 12 grades sort of in a little bit of a different way than we have in previous years. What we're going to be doing is when we start making offers of admission, we're going to be using a combination of grade 12 and grade 11 grades basically almost throughout the entire cycle, because we know that students who are participating in the octomester quadmester systems will be sending us grades in November, again in February, one more time in April, and then again at the end of the year. And so each time we get grades for students, we're going to bring those back in. We're going to reassess their applications. We're going to compare their averages that they have with the averages that we're using at the time. And then as soon as we can make offers, we will. One thing that you may notice is that last year at this time, we had already been sending offers of admission out. we're holding off on sending offers of admission out too early because we know that there's a lot going on. There are a lot of different moving pieces for students and parents and guidance counselors to kind of take into account. And so we're probably looking at timing in terms of early to mid-December before we start sending our first offers of admission out. And so, you know, those will be just very few offers, really a chance for us to test our system, make sure our letters are working and make sure everything looks good, and get a few of those out before Christmas. And then we'll start looking at things in earnest when we come back in January. But of course, the vast majority of our offers won't really start going out until we start getting those February grades. Just kind of touching on what Wanda was talking about before, of course, all of our offers of admission will have a guaranteed offer of residence included, and so students will be able to consider that. But right now, I think the thing that we're trying to get students to focus on is, because there's so much change, because there's so much churn, we're trying to get students just to simply focus on the schoolwork that they're doing right now. To concentrate on doing their very best in the courses that they are in, and try not to worry too far down the road of, you know, what's going to be happening in May or in April, and just really kind of focus on the road ahead of them, because we know that students are quite busy. This is very new for people to be learning online and to be learning in this kind of hybrid format, where they have some learning online and some learning in the classroom. And so we're trying to help just kind of dial down some of the pressure by just getting students to focus on one thing at a time. So, you know, really what we're trying to do more than anything else is we're trying to keep things as consistent as possible. And Wanda talked about that earlier with that, with those June deadlines in terms of responding to an offer of admission and responding to an offer of residence. We're trying to keep things as consistent as possible so that students can keep track of what's going on. And that's not just a Carleton thing, that's a sector thing. You know, when I speak to my colleagues, one of the things that is super important for us is we are trying as best we can to keep things consistent so that guidance counselors and parents and students sort of know what to expect from the cycle. But really the other message we're trying to give to everyone is that we're changing, we're moving, we're flexing with the times. And so as we get more information and as things change, we're staying responsive. We always do an amazing job of keeping in touch with students and keeping in touch with with everyone in our applicant pool and keeping in touch with guidance counselors. So this is a very strange year for all of us. And as we move through it, you know, we're there to answer questions, we're there to address different issues that come up, and we're there to pass on information so that everyone knows what to expect. And if there are any changes that are coming for students or for in terms of deadlines or anything like that, that we're giving people a heads up about any changes that are coming so that they can respond accordingly. So I know that's not a huge update, but you know, for the really big update, because all of these guidance forums have been recorded, what I'd say is if you're just tuning into this one, tune into one of the other ones where we gave a little bit of a longer admissions update and talked a lot about the cycle and about the timing of offers and grades. But just in terms of where we are right now, because we're so close to the top of the hour, I'll leave it there. And I don't know, Trevor, if you have any questions from your perspective or anything that has occurred to you as we've kind of talked this morning, but if not, we can just leave it there.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I mean, we've had, you know, weeks and weeks and weeks of talking about the quadmaster thing, and I think everybody's starting to get a bit of a comfort with the idea that we are one of the hallmarks of what we do is being responsive and pivoting and so forth. And I think testament to that is the fact that you've been able to join us honestly each and every week, Jen. So I don't know that every
Number
director.
6.
Yeah, number 6. We're
number 6.
I'm not going to say we're number 6. We won't get those
No.
words out of my mouth, but I will say that you know, I just want to say a big thank you to you because I'm not convinced that every director of admissions in Ontario is spending, you know, opening themselves up to this and being taking on this challenge to meet with counselors each and every week in this capacity. It's been tremendous success. I want to thank you very much for being here, and to everybody, all of the sponsors and the guests and the counselors who've joined us in this journey this fall. if we don't speak again soon, I know it's a bit early to be trucking this out, but I think all rules are out the window for 2020, and decorating, celebrating has started early and in earnest. So I do want to say a happy holidays to everyone. And obviously, this isn't the last time you can connect with us. I think we've proven that we've had a number of great conversations offline that have been flowing from this. I know, Jen, you have, and certainly a number of our guests have. And once again, just want to say a big thanks to everyone, and so long until we meet again. Thanks, people.
Thanks, Trevor.